Good afternoon, Tom Ginn, G-Force. Today, I'm excited to introduce to you my guest here in a moment. But G-Force G is for gratitude, and I'm so grateful to know Drew. I met Drew several, couple, 3 years ago now. But gratitude is really a principle. When we apply it in our life, it changes everything, no matter what's going on. And I believe it's one of the most powerful principles I have learned and applied in my life. I use it in my coaching to help people better understand how to stay in a positive frame of mind, no matter what the difficulties and challenges are. And there's a book out there, Gratitude Works by Dr. Robert A. Emmons. I encourage people to get that book and look into it at a deeper level. And it is a profound teaching book about what gratitude is. But without any further ado, Drew Deraney. Drew, I'm so grateful that you're on today. We're going to be talking a little about you and an upcoming book that's going to be launched. But what I would like to do is just start out. What are you grateful for today?
Well, Tom, thank you for having me, and I'm grateful that you and I are friends and that we have met. What I'm grateful for, and I never thought I'd hear myself say this, I'm grateful for all the hardships that I've gone through in life, because all of that enabled me to become who I am now, and I feel like I'm a stronger man now than before all that happened. And I've replaced regret with forgiveness, and I've replaced my victim mindset with gratitude. If I changed 30 seconds of my path, Tom, I wouldn't be here with you. I wouldn't have my 3 kids. So I'm grateful for the hardships I've gone through, actually.
Okay, well, that's powerful. What you just said is, we learn. The one things that with gratitude, it gives us a different perspective on the difficulties and challenges. And as we grow, we shouldn't live in regrets. To say, what could I take away from this and build on it? Because in every situation, there's a learning opportunity, and that gratitude gives you that perspective that you don't. It takes you out of the victim. It just enhances how you look at the world in a different way. So thanks for sharing that.
My pleasure.
But share with the audience a little bit about yourself, where you're from, a little bit about your background, that type of thing. I know you've got family and that type of thing. Share that, and we'll start talking about your Profit for Compassion mission and purpose.
Absolutely. I was born in Brooklyn, New York, raised in a small town called Hohokus, New Jersey, northern Bergen County, near New York, about 6 miles from New York City. I have 2 younger sisters. My parents love them so much. They helped mold me to who I am today. I've got 3 wonderful children, Matthew, Nicholas, and Emma. I'm a father first, and I worked in healthcare for 24 years professionally. I always wanted to be in service for others, and I honestly felt leaving healthcare, I'd be able to impact human beings better, more effectively on the outside. And went through some hardships. When I tell my story, I always pinpoint July.
Drew, you're frozen on me. I don't know if you can hear me or not. Drew, you're frozen on me, my friend. We'll see if he comes back in here. So, gratitude. I'm going to just sometimes technology it gives us some challenges. So um, we'll just see how Drew comes back in here. I'm going to kick him off and then have him come back in. Come jump back in, my friend. I'm still holding space. Log back in. We lost you somehow. But gratitude is a very powerful principle. And as Drew's coming back in, I just want to say I've been doing this program for, almost 3 years. And it's been one of the greatest blessings that I've had in personal growth. Myself being a personal development coach, gratitude. Here's Drew calling back in.
Is he ended?
What's that, sir?
Hold on. It's not. It's still plugged. I lost my internet. It's still plugged in?
Yeah.
Shoot. All right. Thanks. No, the paint. What?
We can come back. Try to get in. I tell you what. Let's do this. I'm still streaming, so what I'm saying to you is out in the world, my friend. So. Okay. All right. So I'll just wait patiently. I will just continue doing some dialogue here. So with that all said, this is technology. All right, bud. Jump back on.
I'm jumping back on. Thanks.
Gotta love it. That's what gratitude does. That's what gratitude does. It gives you a different perspective, but allows you to keep a smile on your face. It allows you to just respond versus react. That's one of the great things about being in a place of gratitude, no matter what's going on. But so I was introduced to the book Robert A. Emmons, and I highly encourage people to get this book. It's a workbook as well. It causes you to reflect differently and deeper. So let's see if we got Drew back. We have Drew back.
I'm back.
Well, I'm going to try to figure out where we left off. You were talking a little bit about being in the hospital arena.
Yeah,
wanted to make a difference. Helping people because of that industry. So that's sort of where we got frozen and we lost your internet connection. So if you want to bring that back, we can go from there. So
yeah, I have my life memorized here. So 24 years. I started out in procurement and went into operations and strategic planning, business development. I shifted halfway through into patient advocacy. It was more important to me by helping patients by the bedside navigate their plan of care. It's scary enough being in a hospital. It's worse when there's poor communication. So that was my focus. I ended up leaving the healthcare industry, interestingly, because what ended up happening is you had the divorce final. I threw myself that birthday party, ready to rise up, chapter 2 of my life. And at that same time, I had submitted a HIPAA violation at the hospital I worked at. The person who reported me inadvertently let a file get thrown out. It happens. Doing the right thing is to report it. I was asked to wait until I knew exactly what was in it before I did so. I didn't listen, so I reported it, and ended up 2 weeks later after my birthday, so October 19 of 2018, called into Human Resources, relieved of my duties, leadership change, and, at-will employee, it is what it is. So, I left, my stuff was shipped home from my office, and about a few weeks later, I saw that my manager was promoted to my old position. So things happen, they happen for a reason. At the time, I had that victim mindset. Why me? I had been thinking about leaving healthcare because I kept getting in trouble for doing the right thing. And then when that happens, man, I'm telling you, you finally realize, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Yeah, it took me 24 years to realize it. I never had the guts to do it. You're going to leave a 6-figure salary, leave your comfort zone. That wasn't me. I wasn't a risk taker. My dad was at IBM for 35 years. I followed, I always wanted to start my own company. Dad was like, don't risk it, so I followed suit. I remember walking out of that hospital wondering, what am I going to do next? And I really didn't have much time to wallow in self-pity, because 10 days later, it was October 29th of 2018, I was bringing my 14-year-old son to his therapy session. And customarily, he wanted me to come in with him. He's, uncomfortable, wanted me in with him, which is fine. This time he asked me to sit in the waiting room. And I'm thinking that's progress. And 10 minutes later, the therapist comes out crying, asks me to come in. My son's crying. He hugs me. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm like, what's going on? The therapist could tell he really wasn't himself, and asked if he could promise her he wouldn't hurt himself in the next couple of weeks, and he couldn't promise. He had been contemplating, suicidal ideations. His girlfriend convinced him not to do anything. Point being, there, he was hit hard by the divorce. He was the middle child, and so we had to, obviously care for him. And so, he was home with me, and I spent the better part of like 40 days home with him 24/7. My sole purpose was to keep him safe. And what I realized at that time, Tom, is that gratitude we talked about is that initially I was, had that, all the different emotions about getting let go for whatever reason. I was grateful. I've honestly believed that God knew something was going to happen, and I was needed elsewhere. And I wouldn't have been able to do what I was able to do for my son if I had still been working in the hospital. I mean, I was working 18-hour days. I mean, it was ridiculous. I lost the sight of what was important. So I was grateful that happened. Right around December 8th, we were able to get him the full care that he needed. And he had a premonition. He said, I hope nothing happens to his grandparents, my parents. And I said, nothing's going to happen. You're going to be, everything's going to be fine. Just take care of your health. We're going to be okay. And on December 23rd of that same year, 2018, my dad strained in the bathroom and perforated his bowel, went into septic shock. And 3 weeks later, in intensive care, my father passed away. And he was otherwise healthy. 30 days before he got sick, it was his birthday, his 80th birthday, and we're at the house and we're about to leave. He asked me to come in to the den where he was sitting. He said, I want to tell you something. I said, what? He said, I want to tell you how proud I am of you. I said, well, thanks, Dad. I kind of knew that, but why? He goes, I don't know how the hell you're doing it. He goes, first the divorce, then the hospital shit, and now Nikki. I don't know how you're doing it. You're still taking care of Matthew and Emma, and you come here every day and check on your mom and me. I know you always wanted to own your own company, and I know I told you with the risk and all that kind of stuff. Do what's going to make you happy. Your mother and I will support you no matter what. And 50-year-old man, I needed to hear that. I needed to hear my dad's blessing on that. And I remember kissing him on the forehead, giving him a hug, telling him I loved him, and thanking him. And then that's what I was starting to think about what I was going to do. I wanted to start a healthcare consulting company. I really wanted to educate caregivers on how to effectively communicate with the patients and families. And fast forward to when my dad got sick, and then when he passed away, I remember being in that hospital room, and they're unplugging all the stuff off the machines because he didn't want any heroic measures, and if he survived, it wasn't going to be the quality of life he wanted. And I remember holding his right hand, and my mother's holding his left hand. We had 12 family members around a horseshoe around the bed. And I picked up my cell phone. I've been accustomed to hospitals. I didn't care about the sound. I put on Josh Groban's song, You Raise Me Up. And I put it loud. And I didn't care what anybody thought. And we're listening to that song, and we're all crying. I was just feeling it. And I looked at my dad. And I don't know if it was a coincidence, but as soon as the song ended, I saw the nurse lean over to my mother. And she whispered in her left ear, his heart just stopped. And my dad was gone. And, it hit me, the finality of life. And at that point, Tom, I didn't want to be on the earth anymore, man. I was done. I remember looking up to God and saying, I can take the divorce, I can take the job loss, but then you touch my son, you take my father. So there was a lot of emotions going on. And, after that, I did what every man is told to do by society, is suck it up, man up, don't show emotions, don't look for support, don't ask for help, all that. And I ended up shunning all the support systems I had. I turned away from the church. I didn't talk to my friends. I kind of gave up. I gave up mentally. And I knew that I had a choice. It was either dig deeper into this rabbit hole and give up, or look outward, outside myself, for clarity of purpose. I knew if I looked within myself, my gut, my brain, and my heart would have said it's not worth it. I looked outside, I looked at the eyes of my kids, and I looked at my mother just losing the love of her life after 51 years. And I said, you know what? Even if I don't do this for myself, I'm going to do this for them. And out of sheer adrenaline and just guts and resilience, I wanted my kids to see how dad was going to handle this. And, my vow was always be the best father I could be. And, I had to be strong for them. So I did that. I did it at the detriment of my mental and physical health, because I did no self-awareness, no self-care, no nothing. I just did it for them. And I know that at that time, if I had a support system that I welcomed in, and I'm not talking family, I'm talking about other men who have gone through stuff like I have, because there's nothing like men bonding because we understand each other. I didn't have that. And I looked around, there was a ton of stuff for women, and God bless, I'm so happy there's stuff for women. There was really nothing for men. There's women helping women helping men helping women, nothing men helping men. So at that point, I started to think, I'm going to start telling my story, because most men just keep it to themselves. And so I just started telling my story. And after that, I started attracting the good people in my life. I mean, that's when I met you. I started, networking globally. And all of a sudden, that mindset shift of gratitude and of being who I am, the authenticity piece, and stopping the people pleasing and stopping the self-sabotage and all that kind of stuff. And I welcomed God back in. I forgave myself from the error of my ways. I forgave others for whatever. And from then on, I started to, that clarity of purpose, I started seeing like things I normally would see as barriers. I started seeing them as opportunities. And you start seeing things that usually would have been barriers as opportunities, and you got to kind of take action. So I started acting on some stuff. And one of the things was virtually networking across the country, because after my dad died, I gave up my dream of starting my own healthcare consulting company. All those self-limiting beliefs saying, oh, you don't have the money because of the divorce. You're not a good salesman. You're not going to do any of this. So I ended up buying a franchise, and I stayed away from healthcare because I felt burned. And it was just really not me. I did it for 3.5 years, going through the motions, Tom. And one morning I woke up. It was after I had met someone on a virtual network who ends up a book editor. I said, I want to write a book. I said, I always have wanted to. I never had content. Well, now I had 7 years of content, Tom, that I could write about. And that journey just totally changed me. And, I started really seeing things as opportunities and seizing the moment, which was like, I invested in myself with this whole thing. And I started to progress. I started to do things I normally wouldn't do. And when you start to succeed a little bit, there are small wins along the way. And we all have those small wins. It's a matter of really being aware that they're there and observing them and acknowledging them. Most of us walk by those small wins and wait for the big win, and we're waiting forever, and we give up like 3 feet from gold, And I started celebrating those small wins, and with that progress, each individual win that I celebrated, I got more confident, more self-trust, more self-respect, more self-love, and I started becoming that whole man that I never was. And that's when I started to evolve. And I walked away from the franchise, took a risk. I formed a Men Supporting Men collaboration tribe, where it's about bringing great men together who want to make a difference. We want to make an impact. We want to do it quicker through connection and collaboration. And this group has been awesome. And, in my travels, I started a podcast called From Caving In to Crushing It. I got the book coming out in February. And it's all about being a reformed people pleaser and how we go about it. And the whole process I went through, I never knew I was going through it until the process of writing that book and looking at my life and kind of overlapping my behaviors and tying it to who was I, what was I doing. And I created that COPE paradigm for coming through stronger. And I just went through it with you. COPE's an acronym for clarity, opportunity, progression, and evolution. And if you can get through from the caving in stage to the coping stage to the crushing it stage, crushing is when you transform, like the Abraham Maslow hierarchy of needs,
Yeah.
self-act. So that's kind of the path I'm on right now. So, that's
Can,
the
can
version
I
of
interject something if
I
you
would
don't mind?
love you. I would love you to do so. I'm done with that part of the stories.
Yeah, you mentioned something there, and men's egos get in the way, and our
Yeah.
cultures condition men to suck it up, as you
Mhm.
said, and you
Mhm.
can't describe that any clearer than that.
Yeah.
And we learn from the difficulties, and you realize that. You recognize that you wanted to write a book, and I believe this is your genius. With people start writing, and it changes how we think.
Mhm.
It gets to our core, who we are. We
Right.
think differently when we write.
Yeah.
I call this your genius factor, and in most people, there's a lot of research, but so it's really important that you started reflecting and used the pen
Mhm.
in the writing your book, and you looked at things with a different perspective. Am I
Yeah.
saying that correctly? And
Yeah.
caused
I would say kind of like the pen. I'll tell you, my voice was my genius because I spoke the words and I heard myself out loud telling my story, and it sounded different. It sounded different from telling it in my head. So I guess maybe the combination of the pen and my voice,
yeah,
and that's what really made me realize that people got to tell their story. And
especially with a man, that vulnerability. Sharon,
Mhm.
actually, what we think our weaknesses are really our strengths. It's putting
Oh,
them out
absolutely,
there.
it's so
And
true.
then, many times men get success tied up the wrong way. They tie success with a tangible object, a bank
Right,
account, a car, a house, a trip, or this or that,
right.
titles, education, all those things. And they're all valuable. There's a place for them.
Hmm.
But I learned this from Sandy Gallagher, Bob
Hmm.
Proctor's business partner. And I
Right.
remember in a workshop, she says that the definition of success has been um, convoluted, best way to
Hmm.
put it.
Yeah.
He says real success should be measured who you become along the way
Hmm.
as you grow. That's where we should be measuring. And men don't go there. That vulnerable thing.
No. No.
I'm a big husky guy. I played football and I'm the macho, whatever we got in our heads and how that was programmed.
Right.
So it's who we become along the way. And I've seen you grow since I've met you. And
Hmm.
I'm very impressed with you, my friend, that you put yourself out there in a way that says, I want to know how you do that. You know, I've got those wounds, I've got those
Yeah.
struggles, I've got those challenges.
Yep.
And hearing that story, and I think stories are so much more important than all the book learning that we
Right.
have been
Absolutely.
associated with. So I just want to compliment you. I've seen your growth. I've seen you shift from the silvery objects that are offered out there in the world, and whether they have value and virtue or not, it's not the issue.
Right.
Is that now you have found your prophet compassion.
Hmm.
So that leads to you establishing your networking with people, you
Right.
expressing your voice, running across people. So where are you right now?
Hmm.
What's on the horizon for you? And so we want to make sure people know where you are, where you're going, and how they can plug into you. So
Yeah. Absolutely. I know that we all have greatness in us, and we owe it to ourselves and owe it to others to let that greatness out. I think we're doing men especially doing a disservice not allowing our greatness outside in the world because somebody may need what we have to offer. And along with the men's supporting men collaboration tribe, it's a virtual group, it's global. So I am welcoming those strong men, and we're all strong, who want to make an impact and help other people by telling their story. I want you guys to listen to my From Caving In to Crushing It podcast. I have men on who've gone through hell and come out stronger, and they say how they do it. It's about inspiration and hope. My book's going to be, the pre-launch is on February 2, Groundhog's Day of this year, 2023. It's definitely going to be worth the read. I put my heart and soul into it. And I am going to, I'm going full force to be a public speaking, keynote speaking. I am the men's real catalyst speaker. The authenticity and, somebody told me my superpower is to break down walls. By telling your story, man, you really get people to really self-reflect. And that's where I'm going. My website has all the information on it. I just follow me. I'm a work in progress, and things are evolving. I say I'm building the plane. I'm flying the plane as I'm building it, which is not easy to do.
But you got that parachute of faith and hope and belief on your back. So don't worry about the plane. You got everything on your side with that. But before we dive a little bit more into your book and stuff, I'm going to bring up share a screen so those that are watching this can get the resources to reach out to you. Your phone number's there, your website's there, your link tree. I guess that there's a link tree there that has more resources.
Right.
So everything about you is there. So do you mind if I bring that up so that people have an opportunity to capture this or come back to it?
That's fine.
Let me see if I can learn how to share here. So just let me know if you can see it.
All right. I see it.
Full page?
Yep. Looks like a full page.
Wonderful. Yeah. So this is how you just reach out to Drew. Helping great men make a bigger impact. Great message there. His website, phone numbers, email, everything's there. So take some time to come back to this and share it out. I think that's probably one of the most important things that we do, that who's ever hearing this today live or on the replay, even though we had some obstacles getting it going here with technology, share it out, because we never know whose life we can touch. And don't hold back. Share the good news, as I like to say. So you got a book coming out. What's the name of your book?
It's called I'll Have What She's Having. Now, it's not from the movie When Harry Met Sally. I did that on purpose. I'll Have What She's Having, a memoir of a reformed people pleaser.
Say that again.
I'll Have What She's Having, memoir of a reformed people pleaser.
Share how you derived that title, and without giving away the whole book. Okay. What is the premise around I'm having what she's having?
I even when I was dating or courting my wife, or I remember being at a restaurant, and I'd want that steak, and that was my decision. And she'd get the salmon, and the waitress would say, "Sir, what would you like?" And I would just say, that salmon sounds good. I'll have what she's having. And then in my head, I'm like, damn, I wanted the steak. I had this uncanny knack of doing things because I thought other people would want me to do it. Hey, if we have something in common, maybe that'll, So that was just an example, but I would do a ton of stuff like that. I wouldn't do what I knew I should be doing. I would do just to please other people. And it is such a dangerous trait to be a people pleaser, especially if you don't protect your self-identity. If you don't have a boundary on your self-identity, you get walked all over. And that is the premise of the book, is how do you start build up your self-identity, your self-worth, your self-trust, respect, confidence. How do you feel good about yourself? It's about pushing back the old belief systems that we were told are ours. I don't think many of us are really aware. Do we sit down and think, do I really believe that? Or is that my belief system that was handed to me from generations and generations of family members and society? I realized that I was living other people's belief systems for 50 some odd years, tired of it. And that's really what this book is about, and how to go about really building that whole person and who you really can be, getting that greatness out there. It's a lot of work. especially if you've been a people pleaser for 53 years. So,
Well, I can't wait to get your book, my friend.
thank
I
you.
really can't wait to
Thank
get
you.
that and help support that, get that message out there. So the book you're going to have a formal book launch. I know it's
Mhm.
important as an author to
That's right.
get
Yeah,
some sort of recognition. Says I am the number one, whatever it is,
that's right.
and share with me a little bit about that strategy because I'm asking
Yeah,
my friends and my followers to help support you because as well as I know you and get to know you, I know this book is going to be something pretty special, and want to make sure. And we'll get you back on and around your launch date so we can really get rally up the troops to make that happen for
absolutely.
you. So
Yeah. Well, you know me, everything I do is intentional. I do everything with a purpose. So I picked February 2 of 2023, which happens to be Groundhog's Day. Did it for a reason because back in 1999, when I would propose to my wife, I was going to propose on Valentine's Day of 99, and the ring was burning a hole in my pocket. I proposed on February 2, 1999, Groundhog's Day. So I figure, since I tell you my story starts with learning about my divorce going to happen, I figure why not have the launch of the book kind of like full circle. And so that's why I embraced that date.
wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. And so you also have aspirations to be a speaker to what type of groups do you want to speak to? I think it's important. What type, because
Yeah.
there's going to somebody out here that says we want to hear your message. So maybe a church group or a men's group, some sort of
Yeah, I'm going, definitely would do those two, but I'm going bigger than that. I want to be at a self-improvement, self-help conventions across the country,
okay.
um, where people really are trying to find who they really are inside and bring that person out. That's where my passion is and my superpower is. So
Well, those that are out there that are in that industry or have that influence or that genre out there, again, Drew's information. I'll bring this up real quick again. Don't hesitate to reach out to him because um, I believe, without any doubt, we have an obligation, a moral responsibility to share when we know something can help somebody. So take the time to get to know what Drew is talking about, to get to know him, who he is, his authenticity, his heart, his purpose and passion. And I just wish you more success than you probably anticipate for yourself.
thank you.
So anything else you'd like to say? I tell you what, an hour goes by in a hurry, doesn't it? So
Oh my
we're pretty
gosh,
much,
it
yeah.
absolutely does. Yeah.
I interviewed a young man last night and his dad,
Hmm.
and we did an hour, and he goes, "That just seemed like seconds."
Hmm.
So time does fly when you're engaged with a purpose, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely want to have you part of coming on to G-Force or any other platforms I do, so we can get your message out.
Hmm.
Do something again in and around your book launch, get those numbers spiked up.
Yeah.
But those that are out there that want to help men, and Drew would love to come and speak to your group, your convention, your workshops, your
Hmm.
forums, or whatever you have, live streams, or whatever it is that's out there. Please reach out to Drew. His contact information's in the stream here. So, in closing, what would you like to say?
Well, I want to encourage men and women alike because I support humankind. You know, surround yourself with a support system who has your back, who's going to bring you up, not knock you down. And listen, isolation kills desire and faith. We need each other, and there are people out there who want to support you. So they don't know you need the support unless you ask. So it's a strength to ask for help and ask for support. So let's do it.
All right. Couldn't be said any better. I'm just going to play out a rollout video and then we will be done. Tag and share. G Force. G is for gratitude. I believe it's one of the most powerful principles we can incorporate in our lives. No matter what's going on, we go to a place of gratitude. It changes our perspective. We learn to respond versus react. So wishing everybody a blessed day, and let's see if I can get this video to play.